Calypso, the lovely goddess, had told Odysseus to keep a star on his left as he moved across the sea. He sailed for 10 days on the water, and on the 10th day a great swell appeared. At that moment a mighty sea serpent, one of the many Cheta, erupted from the torrential sea, splitting open the water's surface as though it knew nothing else. A single swing of its great head reduced his raft to ruins. Mercilessly the creature shot towards Odysseus, capturing much of the raft's remains between its crushing jaws. Odysseus watched helplessly, exhausted and afraid. Soon his spirit grew enraged. He pounded his chest and cried, What have you left for me, O mighty gods? What else could thine divine minds create that is any more cruel? How might my wretched fate be worsened further at the hand of you great few? Why not leave me here? What awful pleasure of yours is found in my suffering? The Chetos, once snarling and horrible, quieted. With all the grace of the gods that created it, the monster sunk slowly back down into the sea's shadowy depths. And once again, the great hero Odysseus was alone. Many hours passed before Odysseus found rest, latched to the last remaining beam from the raft constructed on the island of Calypso. Odysseus was dragged onto a rocky coast. The coarse sand shredded his skin as though it were silk. The island, desolate and arid expanses scorched by the sun's touch, was unfamiliar and frightening. The wearied warrior forced himself to stand. Odysseus looked for his belongings, desperately seeking any of the few personal items he still possessed. Finding nothing, Odysseus's knees gave way. His spirit fell, and in great distress he spoke aloud, hope drained from every cavern of his soul. "Where do I find myself now?" he cried, his sun-battered face turned upward, arms extended towards the gods. "Why must you punish me so?" A gentle response echoed from behind him. "They are not punishing you, Odysseus. The gods have opted to teach you a lesson." The muse Erato, divine protector of lyrical poetry, approached Odysseus, slumped and crushed as he was. Stood beside him, Erato spoke. "Dear Odysseus, join me and let me treat you to food and drink while you recover." Exhausted and too defeated to resist, Odysseus stood and followed, knowing neither where he was nor what the muse wanted of him. He attempted to speak, but working with cracked lips, he was unable to speak a word. He could only allow a single breath to escape. The vagabond followed the muse through the scorched land. From the dust arose a hall, elegant and modest in nature. Timidly in Odysseus went. In the doorway, another divine woman stood. Odysseus froze at her. He had not noticed the woman before. As he entered, he was offered wine by another muse named Euterpe. It was divine and had been aged for hundreds of years. Soon after he had accepted the wine, food was brought to him by his hostesses. They were treating him with kind words and reassurance. As the night went on, Odysseus lost more of his wits to the wine and spilled his problems to the muses. "I have been searching for so long," he cried in a drunken shout, "for my homeland Ithaca. I merely dreamed to see my beautiful Penelope's face again. Poseidon is torturing me cruelly, and I can no longer take it." Odysseus cried for his losses, and the muses shared sympathy for him. He was laid to rest in a bed and slept through the night. The next morning, Odysseus awoke startled, but the muses comforted him and fed him. They spoke seriously to him. "Odysseus, we have discussed your troubles and would like to offer our assistance in your return home to Ithaca. However, before we can assist you, you must prove yourself worthy. We have a flute to offer you, but you cannot have it until you persuade us to let you have it. While we share sympathy for you, we cannot trust you with our gift if you are not worthy." Euterpe, a muse of not only song, poetry, and love, but a fierce protector of death and war, was a ferocious warrior. Giving him a sword, she told him, "Great Odysseus, I place with you a sword. Your challenge is to defeat me in combat. If you shall claim victory, I will gift you my sword, a glorious weapon made by the gods, and our instruments are yours. Prove yourself worthy, and these gifts will accrue your ability to succeed in your endeavor to return home to the land for which you long." Odysseus, strengthened with the thoughts of his wife and a surge of hope to return to Ithaca, accepted the trial. Having fought with more fervor than his battles in the great Trojan War, Odysseus overpowered Euterpe and upheld himself to be worthy of the Muses' gifts. Again enlivened on his long journey to reach his home, Odysseus forthwith set into the forest to gather wood and build a raft to carry him across the pernicious sea. A nearby forest nymph grew angry with Odysseus for reaping the trees from the area of which she lived. The nymph drew near to him and spoke amiably to him. She told him of succulent fruits and sweet water deep in the woods. It was her desire to lure Odysseus into the forest of a nearby stream deep and frigid and drown him in dark water. Odysseus, sensing the nymph's inimical attentions, quickly drew his sword, and the nymph fell to his blade. Then, turning back to his exertion, Odysseus worked in a fever to build his craft. Ultimately, Odysseus consummated assembling his raft, and gathering fruits and small animals of the island for meat, he set off to find Ithaca again. Looking again to the horizon, Odysseus sailed in the haze of his long-enduring dream, that he may one day return to his beloved Penelope and son. After drifting in the ocean for an expanse of time, Odysseus soon heard the roar of churning, violent water and felt the current shift. Scolopendra came upon him, a colossal behemoth of the sea, its many legs swirling and creating rolling surges of water to rush forth in swelling waves. The hair from its nostrils were swollen with the dampness of the ocean and flowed under the monster's belly, resemblant of long seaweed. Odysseus' raft rocked in the water hysterically, threatening to tip and dunk him into the convulsing waters. Scolopendra crashed its mighty tail into the water and pressed forward towards Odysseus. Grasping the muse's instruments, he played as loudly as he could, the sound reverberating throughout the sea and sky. The monster abruptly stopped as it became sedated. The ocean soon began to calm with it, and Odysseus slowly floated away from it, playing as he went, until he was finally asunder from danger. She said, "Do you love me?" I tell her, "Only partly. I only love my son and my Penelope. I'm sorry." 50 dub. They're not punishing you, Odysseus.
Okay. Does Odysseus have glasses? Shit!
Oh, fuck. Hold on, wait. I already...
Oh, ow. My knees!
Alright. Okay.
Why are you kneeling
Down.
so weird?
Shut up.
Okay.
They're thick.
I knight you, Sir Jonculus. Yes.
Hot.